Whether you feel that strange pull from the universe towards something greater, or someone has sent you this because they think it sounds like you, these Lightworker signs and symptoms can help you spot a Lightworker in either yourself or those around you. A what? A Lightworker. A high vibrational spirit from a higher dimension, blessed with unique gifts to help humanity as a whole and as individuals. They are unique beings, and without them, humanity probably wouldn't have made it this far. If this time is familiar to you, I would ask you to take a moment and make sure you understand what a Lightworker is properly. It will serve you well and help you truly understand the signs to spot one. There are several types of Lightworkers, from the healers and the gatekeepers to the dreamers and blueprint carriers. If you're here, you probably already know this. You're at least aware enough of what they are to be looking into the signs and symptoms of being one. Signs you are a Lightworker. They are incredibly rare, but the vast majority of humanity will never have heard this term. So the simple fact that you're aware of what they are and you're looking into the signs of spotting them is a good sign. If you were called to look into this topic, that's certainly another good sign. The spiritual signs. There are spiritual signs that someone is a Lightworker. These signs can manifest in different ways, at different times, and will depend on whether the Lightworker is awakened enough to even know what they are. Use them as guidelines, but don't expect to see every single one in a single Lightworker. Sign 1. Connected to nature. You don't need to spend all your time in the mountains, but if you feel at home walking on grass, around trees, or can feel the energy during a thunderstorm, then this can certainly be the sign of a Lightworker. Some types will feel this more than others. Earth touch, also known as plant healers, most of all. But our modern life is taking us further and further from this environment. If you live in a busy city, this can be hard to experience. If you're trying to become a Lightworker and you're not sure about this, maybe take some time to spend in nature. You don't have to trek the Alps. Just sit with a book on the grass or meditate under the tree in a park. Sign 2. In touch with the astral realm. Even if you've never heard of the astral realm or astral projection, there's a very good chance you've been there. Vivid or lucid dreams are an example of this. In this realm, both high and low vibrational entities are free to roam, and Lightworkers are often called upon to protect other astral travelers, whether they know it or not. Sometimes, strange dreams or nightmares can actually be because you're a dreamer or a gridworker Lightworker, protecting someone else who encountered a low vibrational entity in the astral realm. Often, you'll forget these as you stir in the morning. Maybe there's a sense of a vague, weird dream. Lightworkers often dream in vivid or technicolor detail. Sometimes it's images they're supposed to spot and remember. Sign 3. One with the universe. This one is easier to notice if you've ever had any form of mystical experience. Lightworkers are more attuned with spiritual work than normal people tend to be. Whether it was astral traveling, seeing colors, or looking at light in a certain way, hearing messages, or even just feeling an overwhelming sense of well-being and peace, especially if they're immediately comfortable with tools like tarot, oracle cards, and numerology. It might be because they're always subconsciously working with these types of energies without even knowing it. Sign 4. Connected to the divine. This is a big one. If you feel connected with that light, or even just light in general, then this is a good sign that you're on the path of a Lightworker. It often starts with the feeling that there's something more out there, something important that they need to do. The day-to-day grind can make us forget this feeling from time to time, but it always comes back. A hunger to do something important, to wake up for something beyond themselves. They can't always put their finger on what that is exactly, but they know it's there. This light energy doesn't have to come from light itself. It could be light as in brightness or light as in knowledge. It could be the act of helping others and feeling proud of others when they thrive and overcome obstacles. Sign 5. easily connected to people. They don't just connect to the esoteric and the higher dimensions, they connect easily to people too. Lightworkers do not have to be extroverts. They don't have to be the loudest in the room, and they often care the least about what others think of them. But they do easily connect with people. Even strangers walking on the street will feel some kind of connection and kinship. People feel drawn to you to open up and tell you their life stories. It's as if Lightworker energy is like a magnet for light or light beings. This light energy, light in itself, is what connects people. Sign 6. Have a natural intuition. Lightworkers have an easy time being intuitive. They're more in tune with their inner guidance system than most because they're working on a higher vibration by default. Lightworkers will still feel unsure and uncertain, don't get me wrong, but the further down their path they go, the more they're going to be able to rely on following their own compass. Sometimes this leads them to go against the grain, and others won't always understand their decisions. It can seem strange or out of character for them, but the people that stay in your life will quickly learn to trust you. If Lightworkers go against their own intuition, it'll usually mean they don't like the feeling of what they're about to do. Subconsciously, others will slowly start to look to you for guidance. Sign 7. Strong desire to help others. This should probably be one of the more obvious signs. No matter what type of Lightworker they are and how they are called upon, their main guiding light is always going to be to help people. Their own life will go out of their way to make sure that other people thrive and live healthy lives. They're selfless beyond the normal comprehension for most, and often need to learn to find a balance between self-care and following this instinct. Sign 8. Have an open mind. Lightworkers are open-minded people. They'll make sure to keep an open mind at all times, even when it hurts. Sometimes they might go against everything that's comfortable for them just because their light is telling them to do so. As your gift to connect with people develops, you'll be able to understand things from perspectives you might have missed otherwise. Even if these thoughts and opinions are wrong, understanding where they come from will help you convince them of the truth. Sign 9. Abnormal fearlessness. Lightworkers are not fearless. In fact, they're often inwardly filled with fear and doubt, but won't let it show to others. But at certain times when it comes to helping others, nobody can stop them. Especially for gatekeepers, they will shield normal people from threats without thinking. For Lightworkers, it's not even really about courage. Although Lightworker courage is abnormal, it's just a lack of fear. When faced with someone who needs help, a Lightworker just reacts. Sign 10. Abnormal psychic ability. Lightworkers are natural psychics, and similar to their affinity with the astral realm and their intuition, they will be more open to psychic phenomena than most people. At first, Lightworkers might be confused by their increased psychic episodes and unusual experiences. In time, they'll learn to work with it and use it to further the Lightworker mission. They're going to have an easier time connecting the dots when interpreting the future, especially when it comes to other people around them. Sign 11. Natural manifestation. True for any Lightworker, but especially for the transmuter Lightworker, they're especially capable of manifesting real and lasting change in their lives and the lives of others. They'll find it easier to manifest change than most, even without the same level of practice. They often begin doing this long before they've ever heard of the term Lightworker. But as they go further down the path, this skill continues to develop. Much like astral projection, anyone can learn to work with the law of attraction, but Lightworkers tend to get better results with less effort than most. I've talked about Lightworker manifestation in more detail and how it can differ to most people's limits. Sign 12. Empathetic nature. Lightworkers are highly empathetic. They can tune into a specific person or group of people and feel their emotions very deeply. It's going to seem like they know everything before you even tell them. When Lightworkers walk into a room, they will pick up on the moods of others almost immediately. Sign 13. Need space from others. Once in a while, a Lightworker needs a break and space for themselves. This can be both a blessing and a curse for Lightworkers, because they don't always get it when they need it the most. Lightworkers are highly capable of working with others more effectively than most, but as they continue to take on Lightworking missions, they'll also need rest. At first, Lightworkers might take on a lot of tasks and look at it as a way to save more people, but later, they'll realize the importance of Lightworker disconnection. They will need to ensure they have enough personal time for themselves to allow themselves to rest and recharge. Sign 14. Truth seekers. Lightworkers are not satisfied with superficial and shallow understanding. They want to know the truth of things, and they will seek it, sometimes to some fairly extensive length. They don't like easy answers or simple solutions. Lightworkers enjoy the challenge of finding the right answer. They're seeking a deeper understanding of just about everything in both themselves and how to best serve humanity. Even if the truth is hard to confront or goes against Lightworker ideas, they're likely to seek it out. Sign 15. Outside of the box. Lightworkers are often not seen as normal and often break the mold in one way or another. They don't mind being weird or thought of as strange, especially if that means spending more time with their Lightworking missions. In the earlier stages, people might think of them oddly, but very quickly, Lightworkers will be seen as some of the most normal people around, and others start to look to them. Sign 16. Aloofness. The further a Lightworker carries down their mission, the more aloof they can become. They'll become less responsive to the parts of the world that no longer serve them. They're incredibly loyal to people, but they might find themselves spending less time with hobbies or interests that were previously just holding them back. They usually, perhaps unwittingly, push others around them to do the same. Sign 17. Constant awareness of how you contribute to the world. While they might become more aloof in certain aspects of life, they're increasingly aware of how their actions can impact others and contribute to humanity as a whole. Lightworkers are hyper-aware of how they contribute to the world around them. They are not putting out any type of bad energy. Sign 18. Hyper-aware of negative energies. A Lightworker is empathetic and forgiving, but they're keenly aware of negative energies in the same space as they are. Protectors and Lightkeepers will instantly notice negative entities on other dimensions coming too close, but any Lightworker is going to sense a person that carries evil intent. Beings on the Lightworker path will feel an evil presence instantly. How they react will vary depending on their role and the work of the evil. Perhaps it's someone who is in need of saving, or perhaps it's a threat of a darker spirit that needs to be banished before it causes harm to another. Sign 19. Those drawn to you won't leave. It doesn't take Lightworkers long to realize that everyone seems to gravitate towards them, especially once they've awakened and started to follow their mission. Once a Lightworker accepts you into your life, you don't want to leave. Those who earn your trust will stand by you through thick and thin. They're likely to also be very protective of Lightworker friends and aid them in taking some much-needed self-care. Sign 20. Difficulty keeping up with mundane tasks. Lightworkers are generally compassionate, but more often than not, they are on a mission. While they're always happy to help, mundane tasks can sometimes conflict with their bigger goals, and they'll find it hard to focus. Their mind will constantly wander to the bigger picture and the target Lightworker is working towards. This can lead to Lightworkers becoming distracted and forgetful, even missing social engagements because they simply forgot. Sign 21. Constantly moving. Lightworkers are never satisfied sitting still. Witness Lightworkers might have the wanderlust to travel the world, but all of them have the drive for constant self-improvement. They'll push themselves and others around them to improve in any and all aspects of their lives. Self-growth becomes like the air you breathe. They can't turn it off. This can work against you when you do take some time for yourself, and your immediate reaction is to work on something to improve yourself. Sometimes it's important to rest and relax, but possibly one of the most common Lightworker symptoms is that they're constantly pushing for this improvement. The physical symptoms. We often talk about the spiritual signs, but because there's so much confusion about the physical elements of being a Lightworker, I wanted to address that. Looks. With a trained eye, you can somewhat spot the physical appearance of a Lightworker. From the way they carry themselves and the lightness of their movements, to the openness and warmth of their eyes, and the glow that emits from them further, they continue down their path. On the astral plane, all Lightworkers are immediately noticeable as beings of pure, bright energy, but here on Earth, things can look a little more varied. You do not need to have light-colored hair or eyes. This is a complete miscommunication and has been passed on for far too long. The light-colored energy comes from the light within them, rather than any physical feature. It may be more noticeable in some Lightworkers more so than others, and tends to progress as your journey does. Stress. If there's one universal truth for Lightworker signs, it's that they're under a lot of pressure. They'll often put the weight of the world on their shoulders, and they do it gladly. Part of learning to further their path and improve their lightworking is also going to be learning when to take time out. I know I keep saying this, but it's important, and there's a reason we hear terms like lightworker depression and burnout. It's important for lightworkers to find healthy ways of letting go and trusting others sometimes.